What's going on YouTube? Jeff Wybo here, and in this video we're going to expose me a bit and we're going to go all into my backstory. I got a buddy named Adam Martin and he has a new YouTube channel right now. He featured me on his channel for Mic'd Up Millionaires. Mic'd Up Millionaires is a series that he's been doing on his channel, talking to a lot of high performers, and you can get a lot of great tips out of it. Why I want the video on this channel in its entirety is because I believe Adam Martin really got to a lot of really cool things about myself that I've never ever shared on this channel. So I want you guys to see all about my past and how I got to where I am today. And I think Adam did a really good job exposing me. If you believe he did, make sure you guys get over and subscribe to his channel because he's going to be putting on more and more high performance people on his channel. I'll put the link down below. It's a bit of a longer video, so if you guys want to sit down, pour yourself a vodka martini and listen to it on headphones. It's kind of like a podcast style, but I wanted to have it here so you guys could see all about Jeff Wybo, and let's go expose me.
Okay, we're recording. It's kind of an uncut process, so we're on.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, welcome back everybody. It's Adam J.D. Martin, and this is episode number 7 of the Mic'd Up Millionaire podcast. Today, I'm sitting here with one of my mentors, Mr. Bond, Jeff Wybo, 007, James Bond Canada, whatever you want to call him. He's here today with me. We're just sitting on the couch. We're going to have a Guinness, and we're going to chat.
I'm super happy that I'm podcast number 7, because if I can't get number 1, I always want to be number 7. I want you to label this now 007, Mic'd Up Millionaire, whatever. But thank you for having me on. And yeah, it's a new setup that Adam's trying here, and I think it's going to be good. I think you guys are going to enjoy. We're going to dive into a bit of my story and who the heck I am. And maybe I've influenced Adam a bit, and maybe I can help you guys out with some future tips. But
yeah, for sure. I think one of the most influential things, like, obviously we met during your limo tour. I came down from Guelph with some borrowed cash, got on the limo tour. We were almost late. We almost missed the whole bus, my friend Mike and I. And
I almost left. So I run a investment property limo tour. Now we do it virtual on Zoom, but before the pandemic, we would actually get on the limo and we'd go look at properties. It's a very fun day to network. And this guy was late for my tour. I wanted to leave, and if I left, I guess I never would have relatively met you, maybe at the after party or something, but you showed up and I said to you, you should go talk to this guy, Matt McKeever.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much the first time I met Adam, but I had a crazy life before I met you that day.
Yeah, well, and I learned a lot about your crazy life and lifestyle sort of as we've gone, because like that day even, you probably don't remember, but there'll be a photo somewhere, but I'm in just like the shittiest Banana Republic suit. It like doesn't fit properly. It's too big. Like it's not tailored properly. Everything's wrong. And Jeff's in this beautiful like navy suit with the glasses, the whole Bond look. And I'm like, God damn it, this guy's just too cool. Like, and at first I'm sure we probably just hated each other because that's usually how it works. And no, Jeff says no. No,
he wasn't this good looking back then.
Yeah, well, you were trying to leave, man. You were like, I'm done with this noise. But yeah, man, tell us about what you did before you got into being Bond.
Adam's saying there, you know, I'm a real estate agent, so it was one of my marketing things. But I am now 36 years old, despite what the YouTube lighting
shots fired
do. And you got to go all the way back to me being a teenager, and I was looking for, you know, everybody liked hockey in Southwestern Ontario and sports and soccer. But, you know, I like movies, and then I really gravitated towards the James Bond movies. And this is really interesting for me, and it's kind of how I even came to be successful I was today, was because of 007. And he's just a fictional character, you might say, or maybe you don't even know about him, which is crazy. He must have been living under a rock because he's been out since 1953 in the book form. But he's not a Superman. And a lot of people like Star Wars and they like all these fantasy ones. I could never overly get into those. I enjoyed them once, but nothing I wanted to emulate. Now, James Bond was a person that could exist in our world. Now, I'm not going around, well, not anymore. We might get to it a little bit, you know, spying on anything. But you can take a lot from James Bond. Shows up on time, dressed properly, very classy, very polite, treats people very well most of the time, except for the bad people. And it was a person that was like, a very cool guy. And then what does he have? He has the best clothes. He has the best cars. He has the best girls. And he saves the world. So it was definitely something as a 13-year-old boy. It was like, wow, I need to know way more about this guy. holy crap, there are all these movies behind me. And it was kind of a person that I wanted to secretly emulate. The internet was just kind of new back then. Didn't really have anyone to network with. And so I decided, wow, the James Bond life is so cool that when I was in grade 11, I decided I should join the military. And I didn't even know what this meant practically, because there was a couple old movies you could watch of World War II, but I didn't really understand what the current military situation was.
You're watching like Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, like when I'm like, well, I probably was watching more like just like the old World War II ones or World War Ones, thinking like trenches were like crazy trench warfare, like in France and stuff like that. No idea that governments got into problems, because I was like 14, 15 leading up into joining the Army Reserves. I joined at 16 years old with mommy and daddy's signature, because that's what you can do. You couldn't go to war till you're 18, but at 16 you can join and you start doing training. And I thought it was pretty cool. I trained on the weekends and I went away all summer, and that was a really hard summer for me. I had missed all the soccer, and everybody's like, "Where'd you go?" I'm like, "Oh, I went to do the military stuff."
Came down to Borden, or
I was in Petawawa, and it was like literally take the bus, travel down on Canada Day with all your bags, like sweating.
Your buddies are partying.
Drop your stuff. They all go through a kit inspection, and they're saying, "Hold up your socks, hold up your boots." And I'm like, "Oh, this is not that bad." And then like the next morning, they just hammered us, and they're just like, "You have 10 minutes to go shave and shower." I'm like, "How do I even shave? I don't even know." Like,
wait, I have hair.
This peach fuzz. Like, so then I was like in for it all summer, living out in the tents, learning how to be an infantry soldier. But it brought me with a lot of like skills that you don't know back at the time, but now you're like,
digging holes is useful.
Well, but it's that discipline. It's that getting up. It's the uniform crisp. It's all that stuff. I was like, really cool. And I was like, wow, you're going to pay me to shoot guns and do push-ups and stuff? I'm like, well, this is perfect. So then I get back into school in grade 12, and some airplanes hit 2 buildings. And oh shit, this is real. This isn't just summer camp. And I'm like, oh. So after September 11th, Army got kind of real, and people were like, okay, better take this serious. But I was still pretty nervous, and I thought I wanted to stay in Canada and just get a job, and the reserves was just going to be something that I was doing at the time. And I wanted to be get into policing, because that's just kind of like, so if any of the mic'd up millionaires on here, the only way I thought I could make close to $100,000, which I think the max salary is, once you get to like, you know, that 4th year pay scale of like policing, you get like $90,000. I'm like, that's the way I'm going to do it. That's how I'm going to make $90,000 annually. And so I started being a police cadet for a while, but it was a contract. And unfortunately, they didn't renew my contract after a 2-year, pack my lunch, brush off the snow off my car, go and do all this work for 2 years at an embarrassing salary now of like $31,000 annually. Whoa. To do that. I like crazy, like no mentorship like the YouTube can do here now. I'm like, well, this is what Canada's telling me to do. I might as well go do this. Lost that contract, and I was like, about 23. It's like, my life's over. What am I gonna do? And then one day I was in the office at the Army base, because the Army, I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna go back to doing the part-time Army stuff, and we have opportunities to do some full-time employment. And basically, I saw this guy up in an office, and I don't even think I've told this on my channel ever.
Oh,
so
nice.
This is sweet,
exclusive.
And I said, hey, Evan, like, where are you coming back from? He's like, oh, I just got back from the States, and I just did something called the close protection course. And I'm like, okay, tell me more. And now I'm like, okay, the beginning part of the Army and infantry was cool, but it wasn't 007. It was very, you know, in the book, like very like, okay, it's a Bond mission, but it's always a Bond mission with mosquitoes and like, it's just like, where's the casino?
Casino Royale is not happening.
So he's telling me, he's like, well, so you have to go try out, and they fly you out to British Columbia. Once you try out, and if you pass, they send you to the States, and you're like driving cars backwards, flipping them around, crashing them. You're carrying pistols. Your pistols at the high port. You're learning all the top drills, and you're being trained by American mercenaries. And I'm like, oh my God, tell me more. And he's like, yeah, all you gotta do is an advanced fitness test, which was like nothing at the time. If the Canadian Armed Forces standard was 19 push-ups, we had to do 27 or something like that. They just wanted to see you were just like slightly above this curve to even fly you out to BC. So then I go to BC and I'm on this selection phase. And I think I signed an NDA, so I can't talk too much about it, but it, which we all know in our business now, they mean nothing. But
yeah, pretty much. Don't mess with the forces though.
Pretty much, I was in golf shirts in casinos, like doing how to go in and like check for. They ask you all these questions when you come back out, being like, how many exits were there, all this stuff. I'm like, this is like the spy stuff I always liked, right? So I get picked up from the selection and I go to the States and I ended up training with them for 2 months almost, living in hotel rooms and like every day shooting and just becoming like this like really good like what it was is going to be a bodyguard for our top Canadian generals and top diplomats and the governor general, sometimes help out with the governor general and chief of defense staff. And so that's what our goal was. But I was just training still. But they kind of nicely brainwashed us to be like, this whole group of you guys here, you guys are going to get back to your units and then you're going to deploy on this rotation. And I came back to Canada like, Mom, Dad, I'm going to Afghanistan. And they're like, no, you're not.
No.
Yes, I am. So I was like, hell yeah, let's do this. I feel confident. I feel like the training's good. I feel like I would be in control of my life overseas versus being in, kudos to the awesome soldiers, but the ones that have to just sit in the back of a truck, not make any personal decisions themselves, and then wind up, unfortunately, dead. It sucks, right? So I really liked that we were driving, we were doing this stuff. So I trusted the guys around me. I thought, my best chance to go and do this. Let's go do it. And for the show, when I deployed, it was all tax-free money.
Nice. That's
which
sweet.
is like, now I'm 24, 25, being like, you're going to come home with $50,000, $60,000 in cash. And I'm like, and I get it. I don't have to pay any taxes. I'm like, this is amazing. So fly to Edmonton, more training, which was just like stupid, lots of lectures and stuff like that, trying to not get in trouble and trying to stay in shape the whole time and mentally be prepared to go overseas. But it was like a long, like, conduct after capture kind of lectures, and you're listening to it, you're just like, okay, get the check in the box, and you go to the next briefing, and then you sign a million things and eventually go,
where are all the guns?
That's the cool thing too.
Where's Q Branch?
So we get like the police drive us to the airport, and we fly to like Italy, and then we fly into Dubai and camp out in Dubai for a short time, I think, and then fly into Kandahar. And where are the guns? We got to roll in with like hockey gear bag of like kit, like all the guns are sitting here like this. Nice. I was just like, and all the poor traditional military has to like, they have like their little duffel bags.
Sign some papers.
And we'd have like hitman bags.
That's so sick.
We're just like, not talking to you. Because like what happened was we were, there are way more elite units in the military, but we were a little bit more elite than the general military. So we were allowed to do a lot more. We could always carry our weapons with us, like all the time, loaded.
Carry, stay loaded.
Yeah, it's like, you have to unload. I'm like, I know, you have to unload. I don't have to unload. I got this special card here that says, go F yourself. So,
that's wicked.
Called the FEC card, force exemption cards. Go FEC yourself.
Yeah, go FEC yourself. That's
so roll into Kandahar, but it was scary because like first day into Kandahar, 6 Italians died up in Kabul.
Shit.
And I'm like, I have to fly to Kabul the next day. And
like,
I'm like
IED style?
And like burnt. And I'm just like, oh man, we're not getting out of here. So I'm sure you guys want to hear a bunch of war stories, but we'll kind of fast forward a little bit, but you guys can hit me up somewhere else. But basically did a whole tour up in Kabul, protecting some Canadian generals. And on that one, a highlight would be when the chief of defense staff, our top Canadian soldier, came to Kabul. I was like protecting him within a team. I ended up coming back to Canada after that tour and did the whole thing over again and went back to Kandahar, back up to Kabul, and did another tour of 8 months deployment. And on that tour, my highlight would be that I was the team leader for one mission with the protecting the chief of defense staff, the top Canadian general. So I, Jeff Wybo, was in charge of the entire team to tell, go left, go right, do this, do that, of the top 4-star general of Canada. So then when you come home and you get like these meaningless tasks, and I'm like, dude, I had like one of the top, and I got almost like downvoted because there was another sergeant. I was only a master corporal at the time. I'm a sergeant now. And they were like, okay, the JTF2 has the governor general, which is our top special forces people. This other sergeant had the defense minister, at the time was Peter MacKay. And like, Wybo, you're just going to get the chief of defense staff to be the team leader. I'm like, just the chief of defense staff?
Just the chief of defense.
And I got a good buddy who on that tour, he had an instinct. He went left in a roundabout. So basically on a roundabout in North America, you go to the right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, left, right,
so,
type deal.
But when you're in Kabul, there's no rules. And sometimes we call it cut the circle.
Right.
So we just literally go left to left.
We actually do that every day here in Byron.
In our new all the time. Stresses my wife out. Yeah. I cut the circle. So we cut the circle, and there was an IED on the right part of the circle in a really hot spot that always has bombs.
That's
and
shitty.
We got back to one of the camps, and that came over the radios. And so me and this guy here in London have a beer every year and be like, thank you for going left, man. Not right.
Time.
It didn't blow up, but it was found like in a car.
Still low,
and we were bringing the chief of defense staff past it.
Oh my God.
So I was like, dude, I do not need, that's
a horrible
Wybo
headline.
Killed the chief of defense staff.
Dude, not good.
Beers here.
Not good. Oh yeah, I know. Like that made mine.
So why am I even telling all this? So then I get home, back to Canada, full of, here's the thing. I actually was talking to another Army guy recently that was on tour with me, and he reminded me, and this is 10 years ago, guys. So now we're around 2012. I deployed from 09 to 12. And he reminded me that I was reading, he and I were both reading like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, 4-Hour Work Week, all this stuff.
That's awesome.
But it was hard to execute. It was cool to read it. And there's a lot of people probably watching this that are just watching YouTube videos.
Yeah.
And I was reading about how to buy an investment property and how to make money and savings here. And then I'm like, but you couldn't put it into action because I was stuck in Afghanistan. And the biggest question would always be, what are you going to do when you get back? Like in the first month, I'd be like, hi, I just got back from Afghanistan 30 days ago. And like, oh my God, thank you so much. And then 2 months later, like, well, 2 months ago, I just got back from Afghanistan. Like, oh, thank you so much. But then around like 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, it lost its like luster.
Yeah.
Because you can't just like 8 years ago I just got back from Afghanistan, right? Like okay, dude, are you gonna do anything else with your life? Or,
yeah.
So I get home and I decide not gonna blame any PTSD or anything like that. I'm gonna focus on business and I'm gonna find this property. So, but I knew nothing. No internet, no Matt McKeever, no Adam Martin, no nothing. Graham Stephan, all these guys. I had two buddies, one that owned some student rentals and one that was like a contractor. And they're like, you should buy an investment property and have some tenants. And I'm just like, yeah, I should. Cause like at first, like how Adam and I thought Jeff Wybo needs this penthouse, BMWs. But I'm like, how the hell am I going to afford that? Like that's a recipe for disaster. And I didn't want to be becoming a private mercenary in like Baghdad to pay for my toys back in London, Ontario.
Get
like,
shot at 200
like,
days a year.
To come home to have a nice pad.
BMW.
But like I'm like, what am I going to do? Am I going to be like a insurance salesman? Because like, oh, you mentioned earlier, I like suits and stuff like that, right? Yep. So it's like, I don't know. I was still thinking resume at the time. Resume. And I'm like, my resume sucks. It has like, oh, I protected the chief of defense staff, hired me because I'm awesome. And I didn't know how to articulate that into a resume. I'd be like 9mm.
Yeah.
5.56.
7.62. Let's go.
Right. So come home. It's a purpose-built triplex, which was my first purchase. And I remember like doing I had my buddy Dean help me out and do a home inspection. And he walks in, he's like, yeah, it's pretty solid. It's a brick. It's a giant house.
It's a box.
It has a roof. It's got some electricity. It's got a boiler system running through it. Okay, well, like, what if a fridge breaks? And I'm just like, all these little scared things that you.
What if there's an earthquake?
Yeah, like,
Jeff,
what if?
there's no earthquakes. Yeah.
Which we see in our business all the time.
Yeah.
People that are analysis paralysis, right? But I was just like, okay, I'm going to do this. And I think it was listed at $4.25. It was pretty, now I would think this is kind of expensive. But back then I was like, well, I still want a nice place to somewhat live. And I knew I'd live in the bottom unit because they said that tenant was leaving. There's all these magical scenarios that never seem to happen today. But that tenant was leaving. And, you know, if I was moving in, you didn't have to pay the 20% down. I could do a 10% down. So I needed $50,000 or something like that. I had it from tour. So I was just like, here you go, here you go. It turns out there were 7 offers on it. I offered 17,000 and change over. And my realtor at the time was like, man, you're not even scared at all. You're pretty confident for your first purchase or your first offer. And I'm like, we're not getting shot at, man.
Yeah.
That was my line.
It seems easy.
And he's like, oh, okay. He's like, it's a good offer, but I don't think you're going to get it. And I've reread his offer recently. Hopefully he never watches this. And it's like way too much protecting me.
Right. Bunch of Schedule A, bunch
so
of nonsense.
Much bullshit in it. And somehow I got the deal. And I got to live for free in this unit and figure out that whole summer. Like I traveled, and I don't think that I haven't even mentioned, but like I've been to over 41 countries now.
Boom.
It just keeps growing. I love to travel. And now like my house wasn't a burden. I didn't have, the rent started paying for itself. I started learning how to be a landlord at the time. I still didn't have like a job. I was just a landlord, which is not really a job. It is and it isn't. But like, you didn't have what Canada would think would be a job pretty much. So
you weren't packing the lunch.
No. Yeah.
Just
so that's the thing. I never had a car either. And I lived in a basement unit, which was sick. It was downtown. Yeah. I loved it. It was awesome. And it was like half basements. Like the ceiling was pretty tall and like the windows would be like here. So
yeah, got it.
It was pretty good. And then I had some friends that were buying out in Calgary and they wanted to know if I'd joint venture with them. And I didn't even have to qualify for the mortgage. So they're just like, we just need some money, $60,000. And I had that from the second tour pretty much. Now look at me. I'm making $400 passively from that one and living for free. I'm like, all I got to do is get this to about like $4,000 passively. And we can just like phone the rest of this life in and I'm done, right? Yeah. Like nothing's ever going to go wrong. I'm going to live off passive income. I'm like, okay, well, the one day you're in the triplex and you're like, wait a minute. What if I buy a nicer duplex, 5% down, and then move into that, rent out this one? And like, it was like so dumb, but like just that one day it hits you and you're like, yeah, why don't I like just keep playing that little shuffle game? Yeah. And because like I had no network back then. It's just like me and my thoughts and some books that I had, right? Yeah. No podcast, no nothing. So I moved to the duplex and started doing that. And how I got that was I had a friend of the family who passed away and they gave me like a $25,000 kind of inheritance or something like that. So I was able to use that as a gift towards the down payment. So I was just looking, you know, now I'm living large. I have all these, think I'm doing good, all these properties, still no job really. And I did some military stuff here and there, but nothing crazy, like on base kind of admin type jobs, which was great because they provided me like a salary that I could qualify. And there was a time, it's interesting, I'm remembering this right now. There was a job position at the military and I was just dating my wife at the time, or maybe like a year or something like that. And there was this contract that I could apply for. And I went for the job interview, but there was another good guy in my unit that I thought would be a lot better than me at it. And he ended up getting it. And you know what I ended up getting? I became a realtor. And he'll probably never watch this, but he went on to get divorced in like the first year.
Divorced, making $40,000.
Right? And so everybody was like, you should be a realtor. You should be a realtor. You should be a realtor. And I'm my wife, my brother, shout out to Janine Corcoran, who is sister of Barbara Corcoran from Shark Tank, who's a friend of mine through James Bond. She's like, you should be a realtor. And I'm like, realtor? What the heck is real? Like, is that what like old dads do? Like,
when shitty suits do.
Yeah, I was growing up, because there's no internet, no $1 million listing TV shows. I just pictured, and like all the verbiage was always well, when I retire, I'm going to get my real estate license. I don't hear that anymore, but that's what I always heard back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, I can't wait. As soon as I retire, I'll probably just get my real estate license. So I just thought it was like a nothing weirdo job. If I knew that it was about sales, and which I didn't think I'd be good at all. Because
technically you don't have any sales
Zero.
up until now, right?
Beyond what I learned in the close protection team, like customer service, being
planning,
on time,
preparation.
But like, you don't think that has anything to do with sales.
Yeah.
And then I get into this business as a realtor.
Fuck, if you just show up on time.
You've already beaten 90% of these people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is ridiculously easy. I'm
Yeah.
like, and then like, okay, well, so you start the first year out just like signing checks. Like, well, you need business cards, you need signs, you need this, you need that. And you're like, slowly I'm like negative $25,000 in a checking account. And
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, but what did that do? That taught me to hustle every day. And then my first year or so as a realtor, it was like, I got to get up because I'm looking at negative 25. All right, so what do? I know about triplexes now. I know about duplexes. So I just started talking about the batteries and the smoke alarms and like whatever, like little things that
make it happen.
Like I've learned over the years to promote myself as a new realtor. And I've leased properties before becoming a realtor, just helping out landlords. And Archer.
Beer time. That's
and
how we get answered.
And that just really helped me becoming a realtor, because all of a sudden I'm just having like the same conversations, but getting paid way more now.
Yeah.
Like showing off a rental unit to a tenant for $1,000, now showing off a property for $10,000.
Yep.
And the investment game in real estate as a brand new realtor, and me owning a couple, was easy to start being a realtor. I went to the office, because it's not really an office. It's not the way you think a real estate office would be. It's just a hub that people could be in.
Well, they kind of pass in and out, right?
I remember like, oh, I'm going to go in, put my suit on. These guys aren't even wearing suits. I'm like, what the hell is this guy's not wearing suits for?
Yeah. What the hell?
And started having a conversation with them. And like, sorry if they're watching too, but it's like, these guys know nothing.
Yeah.
Like, holy crap. And they're all doing the exact goddamn thing as each other.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is hilarious. We're all independent, but you're all copying each other.
Yeah.
We're all getting together to write Christmas cards to your clients. And buy door hangers. You spend $5,000 on door hangers and you might make $10,000. I'm like, I'm just hearing all this like noise, right? Like what should I do? But then I'm like, nobody is on the internet.
Yeah.
It's 2016, guys. That's it. 2016. I'm like looking around. I'm like, no realtors are on the internet. Like they're maybe
if they are, they're not doing it well.
No, and they to this day, nobody.
Well, this is one of those like really tactical lessons for anybody that's not like, if there is anybody watching this doesn't give a shit about real estate, fine. But like, there's so many opportunities to do things differently. There's so many opportunities where like your competition is just stuck in the past and they're complacent. They just fucking suck at everything. And like Jeff's approach to like, okay, well, there's not really that many people doing it on the internet. What if I just be the best in that space? Mm-hmm. And like being the best in your market probably isn't going to be that hard. And like, even if there are people doing it really well, like there's probably a handful of them. Like if I think about the realtors in this city that are doing it really well, like I can name them probably all, and they would come up on a hand or two. And it's like, okay, so adding one more person, is that going to flood the market and like create a red ocean? I don't think so. Like, and this is true of any industry, right? Like think about it. Like I think now of the barber shops have started doing this really well. They're really hitting social media, right? But like, where the fuck was that 10 years ago or 5 years ago? Or
so old realtors could just rely on their Rolodex, their sphere of influence that they built over the years. But any new realtor joining, listening to that advice, that's going to take me 10, 15 years to do that. I didn't have that time because I was looking at the negative 25K, and I'm like, I got to get ahead of this. I got to, so now I'm into like digital signatures, and they're all like, no, people want you in their house. And I'm like, and in my head, I'm like, my generation does not want you in their freaking house.
Wait a minute, you have to show up, take up my time. My house is messy or whatever. Like all this.
Maybe your generation wants you in their house. have a tea and a cookie at midnight and sign one more piece of paper? No. Guess what? I want to make $10,000 in my boxers.
Yeah.
And so does my clients want speed. That's all they really want. The other agents didn't understand this, but that's what the public wanted. They didn't even know that they could ask for it because they thought, well, my realtor drove across the city. I might as well sign this, because he came with a piece of paper. Whereas now we're all digital and we're emailing and texting and offers come in. And now we do an offer a day, pretty much, right?
Yeah, we do 9. I write about 9 offers a day.
And whereas in 2016, that would have stressed the hell out of like somebody that had to like sit there and really print it and drive the city, countering back and forth. So now we can do, like you said, 9. I in the one summer, really hot summer in London, I was doing 4 offers a day and one would stick.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm like, man, you're starting making bank all of a sudden. And in my first year being a real estate agent, I did $100,000 in commission, and I didn't really spend too much on advertisement beyond my time on social media. So pretty cool. And I made a real estate agent course to help out any real estate agents about how I did it. And it's not even rocket science. It's just like the hard work, grinding, all my military tips of like show up on time, how to handle customer service. They're always right, pretty much.
Be diplomatic, have a plan,
exactly.
Prioritize and execute.
So I guess like, how did I get good at sales? Because like I'm okay at poker. I can win here and there, but I'm not the greatest poker player in the world. And that's what I thought real estate was, like us sitting at the table going,
For those of you listening and not watching,
right.
We just did a cartoon scribbling down paper napkin offer and then sliding it across the table as if there was somebody on the other side of the table.
But it's not. It's a lot of data-driven reasons for why you're offering X. Like, hi, I'd like to offer this. My clients would love to buy it. Another one sold in this area for X. We think this is a very good offer, and that can work. But it always depends on like how fast the market's moving in what direction. If it's the seller's market, you might not have time for that stuff. If it's the buyer's market, you definitely could get lower and more cover letters. And I'm thankful I've seen pre-spike in London, Ontario and post. So I'm not just riding the wave of a really hot market.
Yeah.
I've seen it. I haven't seen it all as many as the older realtors have, but I've definitely seen, like we call it like, oh, we're finally back to negotiating versus just offering, because usually it's just offering. So do the 100K in the first year. I'm like, man, this is crazy. Like I just made $100,000 in Jeff Wybo. Like I thought I had to be a police officer to make 90, and like, man, most of it was just eating and drinking and hanging out with clients and then writing some offers and going to look at properties. I'm like, well, this is pretty cool. And then I get to brand it now on social and started just doing the limo tour, which is where I met you, which if you're still watching, this is how we started this. And just kept going from there. And then commissions kept going up to $200,000 annually. And I'm kind of hit the wall in this city to do as much as I could personally do at the lower level kind of multifamily, duplex, triplex, fourplexes, to only make potentially the 200. I could probably trip over 200 and get into like closer to 250 if I wanted to. But it would take a lot of energy, a lot of time away from my family, because now I am married now. I guess I should mention too, my wife and I got engaged when I had no job and no car. But we got engaged at Windsor Castle in England, and then went to the Bond premiere.
I mean, that'll do it.
Because I don't know, she must have seen like I had this drive. She saw I had the properties. She knew I could do something. Just Canada didn't give me the permission that you're allowed to go out and make over $100,000. It's just going to have to be in sales, not in some kind of salaried employment.
I think that's really key, right? Like I actually don't think it's possible anywhere else to make the money that we make without being in sales. Like sales is literally the key function here, because like, honestly, you have to make so much money in a salary. And like the idea, we talk about this a lot, but the idea of doubling your salary, like say you want to buy another property or you want to buy a car or some item or some trip, like the idea that you can just go to your boss or whoever pays and writes your checks, like, and just like try and get twice as much, first of all, you're going to get taxed to hell as soon as you get over that 100K. Like your marginal tax rate's going to go through the roof. So you're literally going like 50, 60% tax. And then after that though, like you're literally just busting your ass off, and they're going to command your time. Probably there's an expansion in your job duties. Like there's going to be a lot of things that happen.
There's an HR department.
There's HR, like there's people to deal with. Like you can't usually just go and do this. So the idea of sales though, where like someone like yourself, like, you know, with transferable skills, but like no real experience, can just come in and get like probably double the average Canadian salary is unbelievable. And at the same time, like, I think one other thing you mentioned there that's really important is like the idea of, you didn't explicitly say it, but like relationship building and what that actually does once you're in the game. Because like you said, you spent, you know, a lot of the time eating and drinking. And like, what are we doing right now? Right? We're talking on a couch, eating and drinking. And well, I got some salami, you never know.
Yeah.
But eating and drinking and talking about this stuff. And to be honest, like I would way rather do this for the 5 people that are still watching and leave it on the internet. Subscribe to this
guy, come on.
Yeah, subscribe. Come on, you fuckers. How'd you get this far without hitting that? But you know, I'd rather do that, leave this on the internet, and maybe 5-10 people watch it and somebody gets value from it. And then all of a sudden we're doing business later, than going to, you know, $20, $30, $40 an hour job every day where like you literally get taxed out the nose and then you hate it. Like I remember my last office job, I literally was fat, miserable, and like I hated everything. And I had the sick car. I had the,
you thought that's
I actually had a Bond car.
Success was in Canada.
I did.
The Audi one.
Right? The Audi A5 was a Bond car. I can't.
Skyfall.
Was it Skyfall?
Yeah.
Oh, right. The opening scene where he's driving through the tunnels.
I've been there. It's in Turkey.
Anyways, so I had a Bond car, which was cool. And, but I hated everything. Right. And it just sucked. So like the idea that we can just do this now and, you know, it's a Sunday afternoon today,
so
but like,
that's the thing. So I wanted that penthouse, that BMW, whatever I thought, but I didn't, if I had to do the Canada path of going to some office job, I would have been miserable somewhere, right? Like something would have happened bad. So do this, what now we call house hacking, live in the triplex, live in the duplex. Now I have what I think a lot of you would think is my dream home. It's not even for me because I'll do bigger now. I have a house that I never thought I could ever in my wildest imaginations have and afford. And I don't even notice the bills. Like that is,
it's a crazy,
like how is that possible? Because that's not how we were always taught, right? We're taught spreadsheets, kind of like check your data. Your parent, probably your mom and dad, like did the budget every week or something like that, or monthly, and like, okay, we have enough to go on this vacation. I'm just like, vacation, I better go make a sale.
Yeah,
which is dangerous, but I mean, so how do I back all that? Because sales is sales, and you got to get up and do it. 2 things. I've now scaled my real estate portfolio all the way to 77 units at the moment. That's
huge.
0077. For those of you who are on the podcast, he's walked away. So 77 units, that helps right now, but it's a lot of management in there to control all those, but eventually we'll refinance, might sell 1 or 2 and profit on them. So that is a really cool day job right now to own a lot of real estate, and we're actively trying to purchase more real estate right now. And so if I did sell it all, I'd be your mic'd up millionaire. At the moment, I'm your equity mic'd up millionaire because money's going in, money's going out. So got the house as well. So finally got this nice little place that I can call home. I've got a family there, 2 kids right now. It's nice. We don't have to live in the duplex, obviously, there. But I remember when I was purchasing it as well, my broker who helped me out on the deal, because it was he knows the builder, he says you need to do a $40,000 deposit, but you can do it in $10,000 every month. So 10,000, 10,000, 10,000, 10,000. And he says, just write me 4 checks for, July, August, September, October, something like that. And I said, okay, no problem. But in my head, I'm like, okay, there's enough in my bank account at the moment for the first 10, and I'm gonna have to hustle. And I just kept doing that, making the 10 or 12,000. So that, and then 10,000 came out, and then 10,000 came out. And that's a really important lesson to take home to you guys. I call it, put yourself behind the 8 ball. Because if I was just comfortable that month, I would have slept in. I wouldn't have got up. I wouldn't have made those phone calls. I wouldn't have networked. I wouldn't have shot that YouTube video. But when I need to make money, I like putting myself behind the 8 ball. I've also done another trick this month, which is probably not a trick, but it just helps me. I'm not some guru on what you need to get up at 5 in the morning and meditate, but I just wrote on a book every day of the month of June and wrote $50,000 June. And on June 2nd, I write a 0. June 1st, write a 0. June 3rd, write $7,000. I just firmed up a $7,000 deal. And it's $43,000 to go. And I just tracked it all month. So what that did was every morning, I'm like, I don't want to write a 0 here. You actually did bring salami.
Yeah, I did. We got snacks here, man. What's the point of this if we can't have fun?
And I don't know if that's again, I'm not some you do this, you're going to make a million. I don't know, just got it in my head every day of well, do an action towards this, pretty much. So when that client's calling, pick up the phone, when it's just some Toronto realtor calling, hang up. No, but so, and that was a combination as well as a lot of my other networking, because of listings show up, but they didn't just show up in June. They showed up because I talked to the guy in October. So it's a little, to a new person, you're like, oh, that's amazing. But it was a lot of back work. It did land in that month, but it was a lot of work before.
So we should talk about next steps, right? So you go from Army to learning a bunch of these different tactical skills that are going to help you all the way throughout life. You decide sort of randomly to become a realtor because it sounds like a interesting thing that you could potentially win at. Now though,
suits, cars, okay.
Suits, cars, okay.
Once the internet started showing that, the TV shows.
Yeah.
I could do this.
Now though, what's tactical for somebody that might be listening, or even for me, when we're moving forward? So obviously at some point things changed. You're no longer interested in the duplex, right? You're no longer interested in living in the basement at the triplex. Right. How do you go from what I would consider above average performance, but then still level it up, right? Because your first year you hit 100K. Your second and third years, or whatever years you're in now, you've doubled that. But that's not what you're focused on, right? No. You're literally not even that focused on it.
So I guess I should add the 50,000. I should do a YouTube video about it. But the 50,000 in June, I didn't leave my house, guys. Mostly drank with Adam the whole time.
Yeah, damn it.
At restaurants.
And I made 36.
Now, how did I not leave the house? About 6, 7, 8 months ago, Matt McKeever was like, you need an assistant. And I was like, yeah, but I got to pay them.
Yeah, how scary was that idea?
Everything's been scary. You got to move to another house. You got to do this job. You got to start a limo tour. You got to there's no rule book on any of this. Really. You got to just jump in the goddamn deep end and figure it out. And the best part about it's you getting the Rolex, which you're not wearing. So the podcast, congratulations.
I went up to get it.
What business do you have owning a Rolex? You didn't. But you did it, right? And that's kind of, he's going to get it. So then I hire my assistant, and I'm paying him 10 points on all my commission. So if I can only hit 200,000 doing the exact same day, exact same month of normal work, I'm like, well, maybe with this guy I can do 300 and do less driving. Sometimes I can go to a property and he can go to a property, and I can literally cover that 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon showing. Where I'm with some other clients, can we do a different time? And then I'm out all day, because it's been a joy to be home, seeing my daughter grow up right now. It's a silver lining of the pandemic was watching her literally become a little girl in the last 6 months, pretty much.
It's crazy, man. She's walking and talking.
She's talking now. She wasn't talking in March. Not as much as she is now. We're having full conversations, and where I would have missed that if I was always out and just picking her up from daycare and putting her to bed 2 hours later. So it's been pretty cool. So that's how I was able to start to level up, is to have this assistant, and he goes and does the showings. I only pay him out if we win. It's just a good wholesaler that's I'll give you $1,000 if I close on a deal you bring me. Well, it's an awesome proposition, because you're only going to ever close on that deal if you're making money, right? So
yeah,
you're going to give that guy $1,000. So I'm not giving my assistant a static amount. I'm giving him a rolling amount. and he loves it. He's got some other employment stuff too. And like, I hit the jackpot at him. This guy, like, he's like mini Jeff, but doesn't want to be Jeff because he doesn't want to surpass me. He doesn't want to write his own offers. He tells me if he has clients and then he makes me take them, which I'm always like, okay, well, these people are not Jeff Wybo's people. So then it's kind of whatever, but nothing shady. He just tells me everything. He's there on time. He does everything. Like, I literally would love me how I did in my first couple of years being a realtor. And now I just sit at home. So what have I become now? Just like in the military, you dig the trench at first.
Yeah.
Eventually you're like, fuck trenches. Sorry, YouTube demonetized. And then you're like, I want to point and say, I want to be the leader. And I want to be like, I know the battle is coming this way. We need a trench here, 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 and here. And now it gets really more interesting because now you're controlling the battle. So just like in sales now, it's fun to go dig the trenches and be out there and hustle and post on Instagram and say, I'm hustling. Look at me, I'm hustling. But what else is falling apart? Could I have acquired the 77 units? Would my marriage be better, or worse, right? But I'm doing this for you, honey. I'm always out.
Exactly.
The typical Canadian story of like a falling apart, right?
It's Willie Loman in The Death of a Salesman. You guys read that, right? Come on, call back, way back, playback.
I hope this gets shared now. Come on, guys.
Right?
So
at some point, I mean, you had to relinquish some control. Yeah, grab beer. I think that's one of the hardest things for people to do generally
100%.
is let go.
I'm the only one that can do it. And what was I scared about? My clients will hate this. It's not me. I'm the brand.
Yeah.
This guy's not the brand.
Dude, imagine what would happen if.
Just gonna go over.
No, it's good. Premium audio experience. But imagine, dude, what would happen if, say, the military tried to run things top down where the general was the only one that could do the job.
Yeah.
What the fuck would get done?
I have somewhat of an analogy too. Like, you don't ask the general, we're out of socks.
Yeah.
We need more socks. We need more t-shirts. No, that's not a general question.
Yeah.
General question is, what's the foreign policy on this country?
Yeah.
And like, why are we deploying here, sir?
What's the high level plan? And then somebody will execute.
There are other people that can do the other tasks.
And I think that is what we call leadership.
Exactly. So I need to high level figure out how to purchase more properties and figure out how to sort out the I guess I don't want to say like their lower clients, but like their lower dollar value clients. And the problem with the lower dollar value client is that they're usually entry level. And the problem with that is the price points are either very competitive, because that's what most Canadians are entry level at that price point anyways. And the product is bad because it's an older house, it's this. So it falls apart in financing. You could do all the work that you could possibly do, and the product falls apart. The house has got bad wiring, doesn't pass this code. Whereas you get to a bit higher stuff. I got a text today. Here now, you start having higher conversations. You start getting higher texts. I didn't even like blink an eye today, and I got a text about, "Hey, can you check out this $1.7 million property for me?" And it's an investment property. Imagine that I got that text in my first year being a realtor. I'd be like so giddy. I'd be showing my wife like, "Look at those texts." Like now, I'm just like, I'm having my kid like pull on my Sadie's pulling on my pants as I'm like texting back about 1.7 million.
Yep.
And it's not even a scary conversation anymore at all.
Well, and I think that this is a good point though for any other industry too. Like it was always apparent to me, like I've done door-to-door sales. I've sold a bunch of stuff in my life, and like to me, it's always been the bottom product or the cheap product that will give you the most problems. And that is because like you literally are just dealing with the most amount of people. It's like the people that can't afford to get to the higher quality product, or they choose not to for whatever reason. That's the largest demographic. It's sort of the bottom of the pyramid. But the challenge is like there's inherent problems built into that thing. It's cheap. It's not well made. It's not going to stand the test of time. Like if you really press it, it's going to break. And I like to always talk about this, about vehicles and things that are actually important, especially your house or any sort of expensive product or like product that you're going to use frequently should always be of the highest quality. And like the thing is, like you're using it every day. Like I freak out when people have a shitty bed, right? Or like
you can read any investment book, they tell you you spend 1/3 of your life in it.
Yeah, like you're literally spending your entire time there. Why is it not the greatest thing? The same thing with your car. I wear my watch every day. I wear these clothes every day, right? Why not have the best of those things? Because it's not only going to help you, but it's going to also streamline and standardize your time so that you're not spending time at the mechanics. You're not spending time with your contractors. You're not spending time and resources trying to fix things. Or worse, have to go out and rebuy it. I think that's a really good point for anybody looking to get into business is like, stop fighting with the bottom feeders. Yeah. It doesn't make any sense.
Outsource all your little meaningless tasks.
Yeah.
I don't care if you love putting on a podcast and cutting your grass. Stop.
I'm guilty of this, actually.
Stop.
I'm guilty.
Get a grass cutter.
I know.
It's $20 a cut.
Literally.
Go make $10,000 during that hour. That's how I think about it. Okay. It's not that I'm lazy. Tells me why people that tell me I'm lazy because I don't cut my own grass are salary workers, because they're trying to save. They're all about saving. They make X. They want to cut back on any expenses to maximize the salary. That's not Adam and I. Unsubscribe if you guys are those people.
Please.
We are all about creating wealth through good mindset and hustle and work. And to go back a little bit, one of the things too, there was a famous realtor in New York City, Ryan Serhant. He's on $1 Million Listing, YouTube channel, all this stuff. And I remember, I can't remember where, one of his books, he says, if you make a $500,000 sale, like a house sold at $500,000, you do not sell houses under $500,000 now. You're a $500,000 realtor. And I remember reading that, like, yeah, maybe you, Ryan, ha ha ha. But you know what? Then you give me another year and a half now. I'm like, damn it. And you're talking about like the lower product that causes all the problems. You're right, man. Why can't I be the higher one? So now I'm having the $1.7 million texts, and my assistant going around and doing the lower stuff almost needs to stop.
Yeah.
In a way, it's paying the bills, but I mean, it's not going to get me to my end value, and it's going to constantly be like, I have a client, they're
just as well to refer it out or something. Still probably make a couple grand, but then it's like, okay, bye.
Oh, I am a huge on that. So something called velocity of time and money. I love, like, all of a sudden I'm supposed to list a property out of board. I thought I could do it, but I'm like, I know this is going to be a headache. It sounds like I'm going to get all the commission. It's what a first-year realtor would do. It's not what a fourth, fifth-year realtor would do. Call the board, and they're like, well, you can't list on our board because you're not a member here. Other boards, you can pay like $60 and fill out their paperwork, and you can put it on their board. So then there's this, I go back to the client, and I'm like, I can't go on this board. I can go find a person in this board. He's like, no, I know a guy. So I just text the guy. I'm like, hey, man, we're going to co-list this. Here you go. And my plan is he's going to do everything. I'm going to take less paycheck, but do nothing, and go back to my purchasing giant real estate properties and not worry about this little.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm taking it is just the relationship with the person, not the commission. Because that person I know will refer me, and eventually they're going to go on to buy big apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Because they're hustlers. So I'm just helping them out.
Well, I think the important thing here, right, is just sticking to your core competency. Like, what is it that you do that you're best at? And like really maximizing your time spent on those things, because the opportunity cost is so great. Like, anytime you do go out and cut the grass, it might only be an hour, but that's an hour that we could have spent here talking to potentially, one-to-many conversation.
This video will somehow make me $10,000. I guarantee it. Somebody's going to reach out to me. It might not be you. It might be you. And it'll happen, right? And maybe there's something within this video that you guys will go make $20,000 with somehow through connections.
So let's talk about like abundance, because like I read, Jeff and I have a secret book that we've read, and I read that and I started changing my behaviors quite a bit. I mean,
it's crazy. Like this is the one I gave you, obviously, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And when did I give this to you? Like, we were maybe a little bit too much vodka martinis deep.
Yeah.
And I was explaining it to you. And I just feel like
it
was one of those nights where when Jeff's talking, Adam's listening, and you're kind of like in the zone.
Yeah.
Nodding. And you're like, something probably clicked in
this
your
is
head,
good
right?
mentorship. Well, and then it clicked, but then I read this book, and Since then, I mean, my life has changed.
I think the book,
unbelievably.
which is, we're not crazy gurus telling you to like this book, but your mindset kind of shifted for the abundance, and it
to
was
abundance,
mm-hmm.
because we're surrounded. There's a lot of people in our network, and this is fine, but there's a lot of people in our network really fighting for that dollar. I mean, they're fighting to, if they make the dollar, they're trying to preserve every penny of it, to ad nauseum, like to the point where it's kind of crazy. And what the book really suggests is like, well, you could do that, but why not instead surround yourself with abundance in like little things, right? Like, and again, I'm not saying, because we've brought this up before, but you don't need a $20,000 watch to make this happen, but you can do some really small, cool tricks on your brain that work for you daily, right? Having your house and your room clean, right? Just having a good space where people can come and visit you if necessary, but also just so that your brain's clear. Okay. Keeping cash on you just in case, right? If the cards don't work. I've actually, since reading this goddamn book, I've run into it twice now where there was no way to pay or do or get the service or product that you wanted without having cash on hand, because it wasn't possible. Like, the machines were down, everything was going bad, but I had my cash on me. And so the book suggests you should generally keep some cash on you. Keep your car with a full tank of gas and prepared for whatever adventure it is.
Amazing military tips, right?
Yeah.
Like, but now they come back. This wasn't a military book, but I mean, it's just like these practical things. So what is the carrying the cash on you, or like, a situation can come up. Adam's able to solve it and move on to the objective, and not have a complaint with the machine's not working and they need the internet. It ruins the atmosphere, because now we're kind of getting into more like how to be more smooth.
Yeah.
To be
well, even last night, I mean, I had a fantastic dinner at Hunter & Co. And, you know, I pay for dinner, whatever, leave a great tip. Always tip your service providers because they'll remember you. By the way, when I sat down at the table yesterday, they brought me out my favorite bottle of wine. I didn't say hello. I didn't say anything.
It's funny how that happens.
They brought it out. They put Frank Sinatra on because they know me. And it literally was the most perfect experience ever. The chef killed it, and I'd already paid. I tipped. I did everything in advance. And then the chef, I mean, dinner was fantastic. It could not have been any better. And I just happened to have, you know, a bunch of cash in my pocket. So I said, hey, if I'm allowed to, I know it's kind of COVID style right now, but if I'm allowed to, I'd love to give you something. And she said, no, it's really not necessary. But I'm like, no, seriously, I just want to do this for you. Leave her with $100, kind of Sinatra style. Who's the biggest tipper you ever had? Well,
explain some of this, because
it was you, sir.
Yeah, like that's man, we gotta tell everybody. So Sinatra had, you know, in the height of like the Vegas times, he was leaving, guy hold the door open for him or something, and he would peel off his $100 bills like toilet paper, pretty much. And he tipped him. He wanted to go tip him, and he says,
"What's the biggest tip you ever got?" And he said, $50, sir. He said, "Well, here's 100." He said, "Who gave you?"
Who gave you the 50? He says, "You did, Mr. Sinatra."
Yeah.
So like, who do you want to be in this world, right? Like, do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be the person that arrives late because the taxi cab driver or the Uber driver missed the turn? You show up to the dinner table and you complain about that Uber driver,
and then you don't have cash when the machine's broken, and then it's a compounding.
It's like, so then take this into sales. Like, you're never late. Don't be late. There's no excuse. I'm sorry. Just don't do it. Don't be late. Don't bring negative. And like, there's a lot of people in your world probably too that always bring negative. We're going to talk about politics negatively. We're going to talk about probably COVID, probably religion, probably everything,
whatever.
Just negative. And sometimes you're going to be finding yourself in a room and you're just like, this is a negative conversation. And it's fun to like bash stuff for a little bit, but just like you're bringing it down. So maybe we can tease. The book is a fictional, it's a James Bond type of a book. Like, would James Bond bring negative energy into a room? Or would you be happy to be in a room with James Bond? And that's, the book was teaching Adam a little bit about that. It was written by a guy I've met. He wrote it like 20 years ago.
It's an oldie, but a goodie.
But it's one of those books where like something not practical, but I get the story behind it. Like, it's not practical in 2020 because like we're talking different like social norms. There wasn't as much
different
digital
technology.
Yeah, there's no cell phones at the time, right? So but you get the point, and it's who you want to be. And yeah, Adam has picked up a lot of these tips, honestly, better than me recently. I need to refresh. But what I've seen from Adam is that abundance mindset. And in the book, he talks about circulation of your money. If you put out 100, so you did this 100, you will get back $1,000. And again, I was like, back when I was reading this book at 19 years old, I was like, yeah, sure, maybe you.
Yeah.
How the heck am I going to put out $100? But you're seeing it, and it might not be back from that server, but your date or business partner might notice it, and it might actually make you way more than 10x.
Yeah.
It can make you 100x.
I've got my return already on that $100 for sure. But I mean, business, it's one of these interesting things where if you can be the person with the abundance mindset, it certainly gets noticed, because everybody's so primed these days. And especially if you're listening to this, maybe driving or whatever, think about it. You're probably in traffic. You're probably sitting at home, maybe if you're not in traffic, like after work, and you just dealt with a bunch of negativity. And like, there's fucking COVID, there's money problems, there's businesses going under. You can only sit on a patio, and even if you do, you got to like sanitize and walk through a certain path. Like, there's a lot of room for you to get negative about things right now. And I really think that people take like huge notice when you're not. Like, when I call, I have a shout out Hunter & Co. I have my favorite waitress there, or server. I don't know what you're supposed to call them these fucking days with all this PC stuff. But anyways, when you call Hunter & Co., you ask for Shannon. Okay. Another thing to do, never forget names. I will never forget her name, because Shannon is Jeff's wife's name. Okay. So I just imagine Shannon.
It's a good sales tip too.
It's huge. Don't stop forgetting people's names. Why are you doing this? So I got Shannon at Hunter & Co. Okay. So I call Hunter & Co. I say, hey, Shannon, how are you doing tonight? And she goes, I'm amazing. Thanks for asking, because nobody cares most of the time, right? They don't actually genuinely care. And then when she asks me how I'm doing, I'm fucking fantastic, right? And I'm going to say that over the phone. And she's like, wow, like, that's crazy. I haven't heard that in like a long time. And I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm having a
everybody
great
usually
day.
brings negativity to you.
Exactly. It's
to
true.
every
But, like,
situation.
imagine that you're like, oh, I'm at work. My feet are sore. I've been serving all day and whatever. And I call and I'm like, I'm fucking fantastic. She's like, wow, right? It makes her feel good. And then I say, hey, I'd like to book the next 5 weekends every Saturday at 7. Can you get me a 2-top? And she goes, well, for you, Adam, I guess, yeah, of course we can. We'll move some stuff around. We'll figure it out. And I said, perfect. Excellent. I'm going to have a guest every weekend. And if I don't, I'm going to give the table away. Is that going to be a problem? No, absolutely not. You can, that good for you, Mr. Martin. I said, yeah, perfect. I'll see you there. When I arrive, I'd love my favorite bottle. I'd love these certain things to happen. And she, yes, because of course we've put in the work, right? We've put in the time. We've built the relationship. It's now.
That's interesting too.
It's cultivated.
You've booked the next 5 something weekends, whatever. What does that do, guys? That puts you, I need to find a company, something.
Well, and
forces you.
At this particular restaurant, it's not just company. This is me finding somebody that's worth me spending $300 on minimum to have dinner with. So what am I doing now? I'm really starting to think, who should I be having dinner with? Jeff's booked in for one.
Whereas you guys, you might be thinking, well, what's $300 times 5 nights? Like, man, I can't afford that. Whereas Adam's like, how can I turn this $300 into $300,000?
Yeah. Like, right? Actually, like, this is the way you have to start thinking, where it's like, every time I go out, and this again sounds egregious, especially if you're just getting started, but it might be, it's never less than $100, I'm sure, but like, it can get up to, $400 or $500 pretty easily if you have a little group. And the goal though is to who am I hanging out with? Right? Who are the top 5 people I'm spending the most time with? But then who else do I let come into my circle and influence me? Who am I going to allow? Who am I going to vote on with my dollars? Right? I'm not going to spend that much time taking out people that aren't going to add value in my life in some way. They don't necessarily need to multiply my money with me or build business relationships. But if I'm taking them out and I want to give them an experience, which it always is going to be an experience, Jeff and I are huge fans of making the experiential part matter a lot. Okay, we're never staying in the same place for more than like an hour. We're going to keep moving, change the scenario, change the scene, make it interesting.
This country.
Be fascinating.
Bring your passport.
Yeah, well, you actually should. I also never leave the house without my passport. Random, I know, but 3 times that's benefited me where I've just bought plane tickets and gone. And to be able to do that puts you ahead of almost everybody else that most people are ever going to meet. And so, that's feedback I somewhat get a lot, which is like, I've never met anybody like you, or you're the most interesting person I've ever met. And I'm like, amazing.
He's not negative. Showed up on time. It's well dressed.
Like,
didn't bring negativity to the event.
It's the fundamentals.
It's so easy, but people make it hard.
And don't look like shit, right? Wear a polo. I mean, and if you can afford, Joe Fresh is making it these days, that like you can literally look decent and show up presentable, right? For very low budget. You don't need to be a millionaire to show up, right? Showing up is just a mindset. It's a way of living. It's actually habitual, right? Showing up is making your bed. Showing up is having your home and your car, your vehicle clean and ready to go, right? With supplies. You've got, some water, some money, some medical.
I want to give a shout out to our buddy Mike Nowicki.
Mike Nowicki, he's on the path.
What book did he get? Same book.
Same book.
After you. Almost like this blue black book getting passed down. And now the guy drives a 6 Series Beamer, does like 10 car washes a day.
Yep.
And he's like, I'm just going to go make more money.
His car's clean. He's wearing nice
stuff.
stuff.
You're in your 20s, be this guy.
Yeah.
I'm in my 30s. I got a bit more stuff going on. You guys don't have personal residence. You have investment property, or you do. Run with this until you just keep going, because you're just going to be like, okay, now I need my personal residence. Oh, look at this bank account. Cool. And everyone else was doing $90,000 salary annually, hating their life, going to Mexico once a week.
Yeah.
Coming back in February, brushing their car off at 6 a.m, finding their winter coat after they're tanned from all you can drink Mexico vacation.
Shitty goddamn.
And you're like,
tequila.
Bora Bora, that sounds cool.
Yeah,
maybe we'll go to Bora Bora. How? Because I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to just put this on my vision board and I'm going to figure it out. And that's happened to me so many times too. Whereas I had a 2-week trip to Japan and I could see it was going to cost like 10 grand. And I'm like, yeah, it must be nice. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can do this. And I went to Japan. I went there for 2 weeks and I hiked volcanoes and I did it all with Shannon. And we didn't cry about this restaurant was cheaper than this restaurant this night. Because how many people will do that on travel?
Man, I think one of the most important things in life is to not stop until you can eat whatever you want, right? Like, and again,
it's dangerous, or not dangerous, but it's refreshing when you don't have to worry about the consumable bill.
I literally I don't look at it anymore. I don't even know. Whatever I feel like I just have.
Going all the way back to my triplex was don't really understand what's happening every month. There are people that do that, and you understand that extra bottle of Windex you bought is now $2 less on the property that month. Stop. It's just going to kill you, and you're not going to be able to move on to the next thing because you're too much focusing on that thing.
Yeah.
And when you stop looking at bills, what's going to happen? Let's say they overcharge you by $50. You're going to make a big scene? You're going to carry on.
I recently, with my cleaners, I realized that I was so shitty at paying her on time because, she sends me this online invoice and it gets buried in my emails, and then 2 days later I remember it and pay it. But I'm like, hey, how about this? Win-win solution. I'm just going to give you $1,000 for you to draw from. Please invoice me with diligence and be fair and transparent. The minute you fuck me over is the minute we never do business again. You get to keep my $1,000 at that point. I don't even care. I don't even want it back, but we'll never do business again. But in the meantime, you get to just invoice me and deduct from this flow.
Really good idea.
Right? And because so I need to spread the word.
You don't have to work.
I never even think about it.
I don't hate that they're invoicing me. I hate where it shows up in the middle of my day.
Yeah, you got to pull up Scotia and it's like,
and I'm like doing this shit.
What email was it again and how much? And
but it pulls me away from whatever I was trying to do in that hour.
Yeah.
I almost need somebody, hey, shout out to anybody who wants to pay my bills, because
right.
One of the Jeff Wybo tips is automate everything. And when these people just throw in an invoice into my inbox in the middle of the day, we're trying in our business now only Fridays.
Yeah.
For invoice paying.
That's
I can't pay your light bulb changing bill, $40 e-transfer on my Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah. At
my
3
Monday
PM,
morning, my whatever. Because I'm trying to find the next 100 unit apartment building, not pay a $40 light bulb bill.
Yeah.
You deserve your money. That's an amazing solution. And what that does for you, you can focus on bigger things.
So I don't even know what's going on right now. I sent $1,000 and like she can deduct whatever she wants and it's magical. And like worst case, what's your downside? $1,000? Like I'll get over it really fast.
It's the abundance mindset.
Yeah.
And
so
you've even motivated me. Like I push you, you push me. It's been fantastic. My wife calls you my other wife, my other husband. But Adam's like really like leveled the hell up himself. Cause like you have, man, like
that's awesome.
Like what, 8-9 months, like easily.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, for sure. It's been
8-9
a roller
months.
coaster.
You wear a Rolex now.
I've known you for 3 years now.
There's been 2 different Adams.
Yeah. And
right?
This is the next
this one's fun
iteration.
Funner. Is that a word?
Funner.
Because I'm just watching you grow, man, and just that Rolex is gonna be, you're gonna upgrade it, or you're gonna have this better car.
It's my daily driver.
You guys are all gonna call Adam lucky in a couple of years.
Yeah.
You're watching it right now. Follow him on Instagram. Like,
yeah, I mean, we got a company doing 140 offers a month on real estate privately. You know, writing a whole curriculum on a course for online, like doing mortgages, doing all these other things. That's another thing too. I've just recently paid for a girl to get her mortgage license who's going to take over all of my paperwork. Same kind of magic deal where like literally like if I want to continue having multiple streams of income, if I want to multiply my efforts where I'm best used, which is my mind and speaking and engaging online with people, like that's where my best use is, and building relationships. Really my best use is like taking people out eating and drinking is like my main thing, like attracting and deploying capital. But if I want to get to that point where I can do that more often, you do still need to systematize your business and build in these processes and standardize things and make it easy to communicate so that you can train people, have them train your new people using your same systems and processes so that you're essentially multiplying your efforts over many individuals. Because now I've got Mike, now I've got Shahir, now I've got Tyler, now I've got Diego, now I've got Amar, and the team's constantly growing and they're all using the process that my brain came up with, right? So like it's as if 6 of me are going out and working every day, which is amazing because
that's the general thing.
Yeah, well, exactly, right? So you've got your generals
trenches here, dig these trenches here.
Yep, colonels, captains, whatever, lieutenants and privates, everybody has a role. And actually every role, like what the private in the military is doing is actually probably almost as important as what the general's doing. Because if he doesn't do it, it doesn't get done. And then all of a sudden, like it literally is a system failure.
Like a bad verbal communication can affect the whole company. A bad shot from a private can affect an entire war.
Well, a political system or landscape, right? Like it's actually kind of crazy when you think about it.
It's just the leadership that has to be able to always control what the policies are going down.
Yeah. And then leading, of course, by example. I mean, bust your ass off every day.
That is the thing, right? Like, I love to show your company what I'm doing. Guys, like I'm doing it as a realtor. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
I put some offers out, make some money. Why can't you do that too? And you're leading by example every day too, because you're pushing them with fitness, with leveling up they don't all have to be little copycats, but like their clothing and all that stuff like that, right? And we just know it's a surefire way to advance, and like it's a proven method to work as hard as we do, be fit, wear nice clothes. It's just gonna like return. It's sales. I'm sorry. Like if you want to be a slob, unfortunately, it's just not gonna be great in sales. There's gonna be somebody that's like, yeah, I can do it in sweatpants. Congratulations. But to the common denominator person, we can mold them to be mini Adams. These wholesalers are gonna make a lot of money, right? So
it's unbelievable.
That's why like Mike Nowicki is now driving the 6 Series. He didn't have to. He could have.
Got the Camry. Everybody wants the Camry. It's so reliable, bro.
So,
like sick, but what does that do for me? It doesn't help.
Why would he have that? Is it because he wants to show off and have clients look? Because like, I thought this too. You're a realtor. You need a nice car. Turns out nobody has ever been in my car
ever.
Like the odd person. You don't drive anybody anywhere. You meet places. It's nice to show up in a nice car, but it doesn't need it for the real estate sale. But what it does for you is the most important part, and it's that mindset thing. And it's just that putting yourself behind the 8 ball. Maybe that car is expensive for you, but it gets you up every day to go make a sale.
Yeah.
Because if you were comfortable, you just sleep in.
Oh, for sure. It's ridiculous.
Like, how did you get a Rolex?
Well, literally how I got it was, first of all, took out a loan because never use your own money. Second of all, then I hustled my ass off because there's nothing that would be more painful to me than not paying off that loan. Okay.
It's right there, guys.
The watch itself, like, again, this is my daily driver, and most people won't even recognize truly what it is because, like, it is a special Rolex. Being the Hulk, like, it's hard to get, it's quite expensive, and like most people will never recognize that. But for me, wearing it, I know it. So every day I show up, when I show up with it, I literally bring all of the effort with me, and I know what it costs. And like when I bought the watch, it was very important to me that I get it sooner than later. So I did borrow that money, and we got roasted. Jeff and I did a YouTube video. If you're not already subscribed to Jeff Wybo, good God, get over there.
With your permission, I'd love to put this on my channel.
We will be resharing this. So if you're on Jeff's channel, jump over to my channel. It's Adam JD Martin.
That's what we're gonna
and subscribe on it. But you know, I borrowed $15,000, paid I think 10% for the money, and what that really did though was, like, literally same day, made 100 phone calls trying to get some sales done. Ended up doing I think 30 or 45,000 in commissions right away just from those calls. But more importantly, like, I took the shot and I put myself in a really interesting position where, had I not made the calls, made the money, paid the loan back, I would have been in a really awkward spot because the person I borrowed the money from would have been pissed. Not that they needed the money, but more so because, like, you just don't do that, right? And so for me, that loan,
he would have been very disappointed.
He would have been very disappointed. But for me, that loan, I mean, it's so motivating because, like, are you not going to pay back your mentor, your friend, your family, right? Or if it is a stranger you're borrowing from, I mean, are you not going to pay them back? Are you serious? So, like, if you do that, you only get to do that once because you get burned hard in every circle.
That's
so
a very important business sentence.
Yeah,
you can have my money, your money, anybody's money once, but here's your rope.
Yeah, right.
Want to hang yourself with it,
right?
Like, nobody needs contracts. Spoiler alert, it might have been me.
Yeah, spoiler alert, it was Jeff. Handshake deal, 15K. Paid him all the interest up front.
I literally just gave him money. Yeah, well,
he needed martini budget that day.
But, like, I personally, I would have just rolled with the punches if it was still, if it took you a year. He gave me the money back.
Somewhat on time.
COVID time. Pretty good. But again, I have an abundance mindset myself. I'm like, I know I can remake this. I'm comfortable with the gamble. I saw it as, like, somewhat of a personal development thing.
Yeah.
So, okay, now let's say you don't want a Rolex. You want this kind of motivation. Just send Adam and I all the money in your bank account right now, care of P.O. Box, Adam and Jeff's Martini Fund.
Yeah.
And then we'll see if you get up tomorrow and go make a sale.
Yeah.
When we own your money. We will give your money back in 90 days. If you don't do these sales in 90 days, we won't. You know what I mean? Like, who would ever put themselves in that kind of situation? Because honestly, if you just told me, like, I'm losing my house at the end of this month, guess what?
Yeah.
Maybe I don't sleep in today.
Well, all of a sudden, Netflix is not quite as important. Mm-hmm. Sleeping in's not quite as important. What other bullshit do you do during the day? Eating breakfast, you losers. Yeah. Quit doing that. Get on the intermittent fasting. Jesus.
As we're having some.
It's noon-ish.
Okay. I gotta go socialite soon. So.
Oh, true. Okay, well, we better wrap this up soon. But anyways, guys, seriously, if you need more motivation, if you're not sure how to get to the next level, there's a lot of things we talked about in this podcast. It was a long one, but go back, kind of listen to what we were saying and read between the lines. It's communication. It's preparedness. It's showing up, right? It's actually being professional. It is dressing the part. It is looking the part. It is being prepared for the part. And what part is that? It's probably being more interesting, right? Be more exciting. Be more positive. Be somebody that other people aspire to be. You don't need to be the most interesting person in the world. That's very hard to achieve because there's, of course, Jeff and I out here. So you're already kind of fucked. But if you want, stay thirsty. But if you want to get better, it's a very simple process. Clean your room, clean your car, hold some cash on you, be prepared, show up on time, standardize your communication and your training materials, right? Be able to multiply your efforts across other people's energy and time, because that's truly how you win. It's about using other people's time. It's about using other people's resources, right? Like their money. Okay. You can do these things in a very fair win-win way. And that's how you should always approach this, so that you have long-term success and so that you can multiply it again across multiple businesses, multiple channels and streams of income, and just generally have more fun in life. You know?
Hell yeah.
I've got a great fucking life. We were just joking yesterday. We have terrible lives. Jeff's like, I'm at the pool. I can't hang out and have martinis. And I'm like, damn it. And then later he's like, come for some cognac. And I'm like, well, I'm at dinner at Hunter & Co. And like, it's never going to work. And we're like, wow, I mean, we have horrible lives. But the only reason we were able to get here is we grinded it out. We grinded it out, right? Jeff busted ass for years in the military, but then in his position as a realtor as well, to the point where now he can standardize it, offload and give away some control and really start multiplying his efforts. And that's sort of where I'm at too now with the guys. I've got them taking over their own teams. I've got them managing expectations of their team members and growing those teams. And of course, that just allows me to focus more on the business instead of in the business as well. In your life, you got to think like that too. When you're working in the business in your life, that's when you're cutting the grass. When you're working on the business in your life, that's how you're figuring out how you have it all, right? How do I have the car, the house, the family, the friend time, everything it is that I want, my health, at the same time without, being a zombie and being fucking negative and dying. So anyways, guys, that was episode number 7. Mic'd Up Millionaires with Jeff Wybo. If you're not following Mr. Jeff Wybo, Mr. Bond, you can follow him at Jeff Wybo on Instagram or any other social media platform. Go subscribe to his YouTube channel. And if you're feeling fancy and you want to check out some more Bond stuff, go check out 007 Bond Canada. Okay. And that's where you're going to find a lot of that Bond specific content. So
that's right.
Anyways, that's been a blast, guys. If you're still sticking around, I commend you, and I will see you all on the next episode. It's been your host, Adam J.D. Martin, and I'll end it as I always do with kissy face. Yeah.